Hey everyone, Chris Seagull here with Creme de la CRM, and I am joined once again by Matt Kaufman. Hi there, Matt.
Hey, Chris.
And it is time for our weekly installment of Q&A with Matt K, the weekly troubleshooting Salesforce show where we take a question from the community that is sent to us via this handy link that I'll throw on the screen, quick2.click/Q&A, or of course taken from the Trailblazer community or the comments of previous videos. We've started doing these live, and it's a lot more fun since the whole purpose of these videos is that there is no prep, there's no editing. It's just a raw look at how somebody with a couple decades of Salesforce experience approaches a problem like this.
Thanks for making me sound so young.
It could have been cumulative. It could have been both of us having a combined couple of decades. Matt did start when he was a baby, so
yes. I look the same.
Yeah. But that is what makes the show so fun. I would like to do a little housekeeping at the top and just say if this is your first time or your 10th time. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do so. It helps these videos reach a wider audience. It makes me feel happy when I get the notification, and it means that you will get the notification next week when we go live, so you can tune back in. Especially important if you're submitting questions of your own. And with that, I think we can dive into today's question. So let me put it up on the screen here. Today's question comes from Aaron, who needs help creating a flow to automatically add relationship start dates. Is that big enough for you to read there, Matt?
I can read that. Yeah, that's a great font size. Hopefully it's the same for everyone at home. And it's NPSP. I'm a big fan of the Nonprofit Success Pack. And I'm familiar with the relationships object. It looks like Aaron's trying to create a flow that will add a start date when a relationship is created. So filling in the field. I used to do this type of stuff with a trigger. I would do it with a before trigger. And we can definitely do this with a flow instead today. I don't have the Nonprofit Success Pack installed in my org, but we can just do it on any object and just test it out. And this is great. It looks like Aaron didn't have to work for me.
Yeah.
So I can model a flow after Aaron's flow. And I mean, normally when someone says my flow isn't working, I say, is it active? And I'm hoping that's the only thing that is wrong here, but maybe there's more to it that I am not familiar with. So why don't you send me a link to that question, and we can start sharing my screen, and I'll create a flow that looks like Aaron's flow. Thank you so much. We're sending that my way. Here we go. We're on my screen now. And so I see we have a flow. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna create a relationship object. I'm just gonna create a start date. Well, we could. I guess I could create a relationship object. But I'm just going to create a start date, I think, on maybe like a contact or something like that. I think that might be good enough for the purpose of this exercise. Or should I create a relationship object? Oh, I'm so indecisive. Okay, we'll do it. It won't be the same as if we were in the Nonprofit Success Pack because I am not going to create all the other objects that are needed. But at least this way, when we send a screenshot, it'll look close enough.
Yeah. That way, Aaron will just have to make it look the same.
Yeah, exactly. Sure, let's do that. And I probably should have launched a tab while I was at it, but let's create a new field. The new field is going to be called Start Date. And it is a date field, I think, not a date time field. Start date. Okay. And this is all just getting set up to the point where we can actually figure out what maybe is not working. And so let me just create it. Oh, it's not called custom tabs anymore. It's just called tabs. They're not custom. Let's go ahead and create the relationship. Here we go. And I'll choose the 2 people one because that's what I use for people. And next, and normally again we would do this in a sandbox and we would test it and promote it and all that kind of good stuff. But for the purpose of today, Not gonna do it. All right, so let's pull up the relationships tab. Here we go. And oh, what? That's a weird one. Why? What did I do?
What does that say? It's a little bit small on my screen there.
Ignore the man behind the curtain. It says, here we go. I just needed to refresh, I think, is all I needed. That was a weird one. It said that I didn't have access to it or something. I don't know. I'm going to create a new relationship and just prove that the field is not going to be filled in automatically, because that would be kind of crazy. So I'm not putting anything in here, and I hit save, and there's nothing in there, as would be expected. Okay, now let's get to the flow. So I am going to setup. I'm going to go to flows. I'm going to create a new flow, and I'm going to try to get to look like Aaron's flow. I'll start from scratch, and we need it to be a record triggered flow, which means basically it's like a trigger when a record is saved. If it meets certain criteria, then we're going to go ahead and do stuff. So I'm going to create a record triggered flow. It's going to be on the relationship object. There we are. I believe Aaron chose created or updated. That sounds good. And then Aaron had a criteria. All conditions are met. Start date is null. Okay, so all conditions are met. Start date is null is equal to true, which means that it's empty. And let's see which one he chose for the bottom two. He said every time a record is updated, it meets the condition. Okay. We want this to be a fast field update. And what that means is it's not going to explicitly resave the record. Instead, it's going to intercept the record on the way to the database, make a change to it, and then let it go into the database. In my head, the visualization that I've used since I became aware of Apex and before triggers and after triggers and this concept is that episode of I Love Lucy where she's doing the chocolates, and I think about the conveyor belt and chocolates on a conveyor belt going into a machine and they get boxed, right? And so data going into the database is kind of like being on a conveyor belt. Before it goes into that database, it's not, or before it goes into the machine, it's not in the database yet. So you're able to do stuff. You're able to pick out a chocolate and be like, this one's no good. Quick, I'll eat it. You're also able to maybe like squeeze a little gold leaf on it and make it look pretty, or put a little candy leaf on it or candy flour, and it goes into the machine, into the database where it gets packaged into data, right? And so a fast field update is before it goes into the machine, and an after update would mean having to open up the box of chocolates that the machine already, compiled, make a change to it, and then seal up the box again, which the way it sounds, with a box of chocolate, that's really intensive. It's a lot of labor. And so we don't normally want to do that if we're interacting on the record that is being saved. It's different if we're interacting on a different record. That's, the analogy kind of falls apart there. But if we're interacting with a record that's being saved, you typically want to do it before it gets boxed, not afterwards and having to open up the box and then put the gold leaf on everything and close up the box. So that's my long analogy. Feel free to fast forward through that, anyone who is somehow watching this part before that part. Okay, so then there's going to be an assignment and a variable value. So let's go ahead and close this, and we'll do an assignment. And what did Aaron call it? Set start date if null. So set start date if null, and we're going to set the start date. The record dot start date equals create a date. Okay. I think I might see the problem. Should I say it now or should I wait?
I mean, say it now.
Okay, I'm pretty sure in a before trigger or before flow, fast flow, the created date's not filled in yet. It doesn't exist until, so created date, certain fields like formula fields, audit fields like last modified, created by, that type of stuff, they're not actually in existence until we've gone into the machine, into the database. And so I think that's the issue here. That's my guess. One more thing. Let's go ahead and did he have something else at the end? Set variable values. Oh, that's it. That's it. Okay. So we're going to hit save. We're going to call this flow populate. Actually, we'll call it relationship. And we'll call this before save. Okay. And now that tells us what this is used for. We should put a nice description here. There we go. Okay. And I'll activate this. It's now active. And if I come back to that record and I edit and I hit save, it filled it in. Oh, but created date exists already because this is an existing record. So on an insert, maybe it's not working. Aaron didn't say, right? Aaron didn't say whether it's, Aaron just said, I can't tell why. Yeah, created, when the relationship is created. Okay, so let's try that out. If I can find the right screen, we're going to come back to the relationships tab. I'm going to click new. I'm going to hit save. See, it doesn't work on insert because the created date does not exist yet. Now on edit, on update, it will because the created date does exist. Okay, so here's the fix for Aaron. Here's what we need to do. Let's come back to the flow. Now, in general, the created date is going to be today, right? And the exception is if we're dealing with old data from a long time ago. Mm-hmm. So we could do an if condition. We could say if it's being inserted versus updated. We could also, let's think. So I don't know what Aaron wants, right? Like that's partly it. I don't know what Aaron wants, but we could do some type of if here, I guess, where we say, here's a decision. Is created empty, right? So we could do this. Created is not empty, or let's do created has a value. It's this one here, triggering relationship, created dates is null would be false. Okay. Created has a value versus the default outcome. Created is empty. Okay, so created has a value. We can use created. And okay, so this is going to set the start date to created date. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is, oops, copy that one, paste it here, and edit this. Nope. Escape. Edit this. Okay, and we're going to say set to today's date. Okay, and instead of using the created date, we're going to just say today, which I believe is going to be system. That's a date time. I don't think that's going to work, but let's just see. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it's smart enough. Okay, so what I'm doing here is when we hit save, it's going to determine is there a value in created date. If so, set it to the created date. Let's edit that one actually and rename that. Set start date to created date. Save. Okay. And if it's not, created is empty, then we're going to set it to today's date, which should be the same. Okay, and then we're going to activate this. And so now I think it'll work for both. So let's come back here. I'm going to go ahead and delete. And delete. Okay, and we are going to create a new relationship, not fill it in. Oh, it got filled in, but not with the right number. So obviously what I'm using is not correct. So let's come back here, edit element. I know there's a way to do this without having to create a formula field. But what would it be? It would be, it's not under system, obviously. Is there, can I just do like today with like that? Like I would do, no, okay, that does not work. What does work? Someone at home is laughing at me. Okay, let's see what's available here. So created date's not going to work. Last modifier is going to work. Last viewed start date. System mod stamp. No, that's not going to work either. So nothing on that record. What about flow? Current date time. There, current date. Okay, I knew it was somewhere. And we're going to say new version. We're going to activate this version and come back here, delete this. Okay, this is the test. Yay! Now I'm going to test this one more time by doing an edit. Take that away. And it came back. Okay, great. I'm going to do another test real quick. I'm going to leave an older date. It should stay the old date. It does. Okay, great. I'm just going to refresh just to make sure. Okay, so that is the issue. The issue is on create in a fast save, fast update, the created date is not filled in yet. It doesn't exist. And so Aaron's flow is trying to set it to something that is blank. That's not going to work. You're going to need it to be something that's not blank. And so, let me zoom in. I fixed that by doing this, having a little if. Now we could do it different ways. We could create a variable and populate the variable. That'd be one way. Another way to do it. I mean, there's probably like 3, 4, or 5 different ways to do it, but this was a pretty simple one. If this was part of a bigger flow, I probably would do the variable, and that way other updates could occur, without having to go down many different paths. So we could just have like a separate little area where we set the variables. But yeah, this will work. So the first step was the same as what Aaron had. I added this decision, which basically looks to see, is there a value in created or not? If there's not, if it's empty, then we're going to use now or today instead of the created date of the record. And that is going to be the same. I mean, the odds of you somehow creating this at 11:59 p.m. and 59 seconds and however many milliseconds, and then hitting save, and then the flow runs right after midnight and it being different is pretty small of that happening. So you should always get the right date in there.
Okay, terrific.
Yeah.
So the speedy recap is, first up, make sure the flow is active, which in this case we can be fairly confident that it is, because even when it's active, it wasn't behaving as we expected it to or hoped it would. And the ultimate solution is, because we're using a fast field update and those chocolates have not yet gone into the machine, they don't have a created date on the box of chocolates, so we can't grab that created date to populate start date. The solution is a decision tree that says, if we already have a start date on the box of chocolates, go ahead, or the created date, use that as the start date. If not, you're probably making that box of chocolates today, so use today's date as the created date. And when the record is created, that will also be, or use it as the start date, and then when you create the record, that will also match.
Yeah, ironically, a lot of food does have the packaged on date, right?
Yeah.
So it really, the analogy does apply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The writers of Lucy knew what they were doing.
Yes, they were database experts.
Yeah.
Way ahead of their time.
All right. Well, I think we are obligated to do a quick plug for the video sponsor here. So
yeah,
Matt,
we should. Let me pull it up. Thanks for reminding me. That is not it. 1 second. There we go. All right. Mambo Merge is a native document generation tool for Salesforce. You can install it on the App Exchange, and it's 100% native, meaning it's seamlessly fast and secure. You can find out more by going to our URL, quick2.click/Mambo with Matt K, to get your free trial of Mambo Merge, or to get your free 10 licenses of their free edition, totally free. You can learn more at that URL or mambomerge.com.
Thank you for that. And our sponsors, thank you as well. And if you do take the time to go check out Mambo Merge, we hope that you enjoy it. And I guess if you use that link, they'll know that we sent you, and we will get some credit for that.
I'm not the only Matt K, but I'm the only one with that link.
That's true. Feel free to post that link elsewhere too, if you like what you experienced with Mambo Merge. We'll get credit for those, even if they don't come from this video.
Right. Yeah. Or leave a comment.
Yeah. All right. Well, I have been drafting the answer to Aaron here. We've also invited them to attend this. And I think at just under 20 minutes, this is one of our faster solutions, even though it was a full flow build and creating the object and everything else.
I mean,
So
to be fair, Aaron did a lot of the work.
that's true.
Right? I didn't have to really figure out how to do the flow. I just had to follow Aaron's and then fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which I think is a good also lesson in how to draft an effective question about Salesforce. I was going to say the more information you can include, the better off you are. That's not always the case.
Right.
But showing screenshots of what you have done is important.
Yeah, I'd say 4.9 out of 5 stars for Aaron. The one thing that I would have loved to see is a screenshot showing that it's active.
Yeah.
Right? Because that was my first assumption. But yeah, great job, Aaron, on documenting the question. I mean, even if we weren't able to answer it, you probably helped somebody figure out how to do a flow that would work 50% of the time.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody once again for watching. Again, if you have your own questions that you'd like to see answered here, you can fill them in the form at quick2.click/Q&A. And of course, if you find this helpful, please do like and subscribe. We will be back next Wednesday, hopefully answering your question or another question from the Trailblazer community. Thank you, Matt, for doing this, and thank you folks for watching. Bye.
Bye.